BJ's Wholesale Club makes holiday hosting so easy we called in Thanksgiving's original host to talk about it.
Pilgrim here. We could have used BJ's back in the day. Imagine stepping off a boat, then foraging for your first Thanksgiving. It's a whole new world now. BJ's brings Thanksgiving right to your door with free same-day delivery on your first order of $100 or more. We're talking turkey, squash, pies, all at prices so good they'll knock the buckle right off your hat.
For terms, visit bjs.com/Thanksgiving and get the same great savings online as in club.
What's going on? I'm Arch Manning, Viore athlete and college quarterback. Whether I'm running, training, traveling, or just unwinding at home, I love doing it in my core shorts from Viore. With a breathable boxer brief liner, they're quick to dry, super versatile, and stand up to even my most intense training sessions. Plus, they come in 3 inseams and a ton of colors. Ready to try a pair? Go to viore.com/arch and get 20% off at checkout. I think you're going to love them as much as I do. That's viore.com/ARCH and get 20% off your first order. Exclusions apply. Visit the website for full terms and conditions. Not only will you receive 20% off your first purchase, but enjoy free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. Have a great day.
Late last month, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy was giving CNBC a little update on the state of the next moon mission.
Now, SpaceX had the contract for Artemis 3. By the way, I love SpaceX. It's an amazing company.
The interview started off fairly benign, but then the question turned towards SpaceX. Namely, was Duffy happy with SpaceX's development of NASA's next lunar lander?
The problem is they're behind. They pushed their timelines out, and we're in a race against China. The president and I want to get to the moon in this president's term, so I'm going to open up the contract.
And this sets Musk off.
That's Fez Siddiqui, a tech reporter at The Washington Post. He's also the author of Hubris Maximus, The Shattering of Elon Musk. He was watching Musk's meltdown while it was happening.
So he responds with a juvenile meme, as I've described it, of people on the internet might be familiar with the news anchor asking his guest, "Why are you gay?" That's the meme that Musk goes for. And then he starts peppering Duffy with all kinds of, let's also say, juvenile nicknames, one of them being Sean Dummy.
Musk said Duffy had a 2-digit IQ. He also wondered, should someone whose biggest claim to fame is climbing trees be running the space program? That was a reference to Duffy's past as a contestant on reality shows like The Real World and ESPN's The Great Outdoors. Musk pinned the tweet to his timeline. SpaceX has long been the premier space company in the country, so much so that NASA relies on them almost exclusively for their technical know-how and equipment. To hear Duffy say they're opening the door for other companies to secure contracts does not bode well for Trump's former first buddy.
It suggests that Musk has definitely worn his welcome with an administration that he was extremely close with and even a part of up until, right around the end of May, when he and Doge started to wind down their activities. Though Doge still exists, Musk is no longer part of the federal government. And the fact that, the transportation secretary and the interim administrator of NASA could call out a, Musk-owned company for being behind suggests that they're willing to take that risk a really crucial relationship to NASA.
And yet, even after all this public feuding and even after signs that the government is willing to leave him behind, Musk is still winning. On Thursday, the Tesla board approved a $1 trillion pay package for him that keeps him locked in at the company for the next decade. There was some pressure from investors to reject the deal, but clearly not enough.
Musk and the Tesla board have gotten a tremendous amount of support for similar, actions. Musk's prior pay package a vote to again approve Musk's prior pay package after it was struck down. That was a $56 billion package. I think I did the basic back of the napkin math, and this $1 trillion one is what, 18 times that. So that $56 billion package was already gargantuan, like in terms of CEO pay. CEOs are not given these, massive chunks of stock in an already mature company. This is unprecedented.
It may seem strange for Tesla to reward someone who keeps fighting with a notoriously vindictive administration, but Musk has a knack for getting out of a jam.
He does not typically face the consequences that might be expected of someone acting out or what have you, right? And so to what end? He can do it. He can do it, and he can maintain his grip on power and his wealth. He can get away with it.
Today on the show, the world's richest man keeps winning. Can it last? I'm Shayna Roth, filling in for Lizzie O'Leary. You're listening to What Next TBD, a show about technology, power, and how the future will be determined. Stick around.
This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks makes it easy to find the perfect gifts and holiday looks that suit your personal style. The holidays can be a lot of things: exciting, relaxing, heartwarming, and yes, sometimes even a little stressful. That's why you need Saks.com. Saks makes holiday shopping easy, stress-free, and most importantly, fun, whether it's for yourself, your family and friends, or even the pickiest person on your list. You can feel confident going into this holiday season, knowing that Saks is there to help you find inspiration, curate a holiday wish list, pick out gifts for your loved ones, and have a look ready for whatever might come your way. Whether it's an office holiday party, a cozy night in, or a vacation getaway, Saks has everything you need. If you're looking for shopping to be personalized and easy this holiday season, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to shop for everyone on your list.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game, shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. I want to take a look at Musk's business empire as it currently stands. Since his departure at Doge, how has his business empire been faring?
So that was another one of the concerns at the time when Musk was pulling back from government. Basically, Tesla had begun to face an unprecedented backlash over Musk's involvement over his work with Doge, with Trump, and it was starting to affect the company's bottom line. It was looking like demand was evaporating. The company was behind on where it was expected to be. Tesla's revenue and profitability were lagging from a year before. And there were numerous factors that could have played a part, but the obvious one was that, he had essentially split the customer and fan base with his involvement in politics. So the company that is key to his empire, that is a massive driver of his wealth, was in crisis.
You may remember back in March when President Trump hosted what was essentially a Tesla showcase on the White House lawn, a bid to try and boost the perception of the beleaguered company.
Wow. That's beautiful. This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer. That's beautiful. Wow.
It was, kind of an assist for the person who was his right-hand man up until that point in the administration, but whose company was struggling greatly because of his decision to get involved in government. Beyond that, you had SpaceX, which was heavily reliant on its relationship with the federal government, and which couldn't risk necessarily, biting the hand that feeds. Um, and so feuding with regulators, feuding with the transportation secretary, the interim NASA administrator, that's not necessarily a positive if you are, trying to land further SpaceX contracts or inspire confidence in the company. Meanwhile, there's this massive war playing out in tech over the future of, or the global dominance of artificial intelligence. And Musk has an AI startup, XAI, but it is at this moment that I'm speaking of, and also ran, right? It's not OpenAI. It's not Google's Gemini. It's not Microsoft Copilot. It's just this company that's offering Grok, which is sort of a companion feature in the X app, the other company, major company of Musk's, that has never been like a profit center. And so the empire is kind of teetering, obviously not in a way that would significantly impact or undercut Musk's wealth or power, but it's at a point where, he needs to decide whether to intervene. And ultimately, he does.
I want to look specifically at SpaceX. They were awarded a contract back in 2021 to take astronauts to the surface of the moon. How's that been going?
Well, according to the transportation secretary, they are not where they're expected to be. SpaceX was supposed to demonstrate the ability to refuel, its product with like in orbit, and that has not been demonstrated. The number of refueling trips or anticipated refueling trips has piled up. Basically, they're moving the goalposts a bit. And then there have been numerous Starship explosions. SpaceX wants to achieve this with this gargantuan. I think even Musk put it like this monument to hubris, right? This like 400-foot rocket, and they've had triumphs, but several of the tests, and several in a row, have gone awry, and they obviously end in this dramatic, spectacular fashion in these explosions. And every time that happens, it calls into question the ability to conduct flawlessly this very sensitive and difficult operation of putting humans back on the moon in a way, obviously, that's never been achieved. We're not in the era of the lunar landers of the 60s. And so, they're trying to prove this new concept that they seemingly are not hitting the milestones for at the pace that they anticipated.
And Secretary of Transportation Duffy has indicated that contracts for their Artemis project would be open to companies outside of SpaceX. What does that say about how they view SpaceX now?
They are willing to take a risk on, potentially somebody else can achieve this either faster, or the spirit of competition will lead SpaceX to get its act together. Um, the obvious competitor is Blue Origin, which is the company started by uh, other occasional world's richest person, Jeff Bezos, who I must disclose is the owner of the Washington Post. And that is so that's a risk that they're taking. They're saying, okay, Elon, if you're not able to deliver, we're going to open this up. And the obvious competitor in the space is Blue Origin.
So there's also Tesla, obviously Musk's big moneymaker historically. How are they doing now that Musk has had some time away from Doge?
Tesla's in sort of a holding pattern. Its profit and revenue is not where it was, at least in terms of growth. I mean, for a while, Tesla was able to tell a story of seemingly uninterrupted growth. It became the world's most valuable automaker. Musk became the world's richest person. Um, and the company was showing uh, that profitability was growing rather than shrinking. And they're now in this space, in the low margin industry that is auto manufacturing, where they're not blowing away their investors. They're not blowing away Wall Street. And what some of those investors want is for Musk to return his attention to the company and reignite some of these big bets and not act like any other automaker. And so what Tesla's doing now is they're shifting their story. They're no longer sticking purely to their original mission of accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. They now are calling their mission sustainable abundance. They want to invest in artificial intelligence, which doesn't everybody, uh, uh, robotics, humanoid robots. Um, they're positioning themselves as much more than an auto company, which they always have. They've always been a tech company as well. But in this era, they're taking massive bets that require the full and sustained attention of a CEO who, for a while there, was distracted with a lot of other shiny toys.
And a lot of Tesla's goals and ambitions, I mean, the things that they want to do are subject to government regulation. What projects have they been working on that need government approval?
Musk typically caveats like a lot of his big bets with like this is subject to government approval, and that's not always the case. I mean, just because there are not government regulations that exist for some of what he's trying to put out there. So the big one is Cybercab. This is a Tesla vehicle that um, for a while, it was expected this was supposed to be delivered, without a steering wheel or pedals, right? Like this was a fully autonomous vehicle that ran on Tesla's full self-driving or other like, artificial intelligence slash like neural network based software. And it was going to be like the ambition, at least, is a fully autonomous car that does not require the intervention of a driver at any point. Um, there are other sort of intermediary steps. I mentioned full self-driving. That's a product that they have. It's a driver assistance system that basically allows the car to, maneuver the roads. The driver has to pay attention at all times. But this is like software that they put out on the roads that they claim will one day make their vehicles autonomous. The regulatory roadmap for that it's like a patchwork.
Hmm.
And so like Musk's claims that like these things hinge on regulatory approval are like less black and white. Um, but beyond that, beyond autonomy, they're also venturing into this space of humanoid robots. They want to deliver a consumer, but also manufacturing oriented robot that would assist with, everything from household tasks to like factory work, like that would help Tesla build its cars, but would also help a person, clean their
Yeah.
house or cook dinner. And this requires similar software research like neural nets and artificial intelligence. And that's the space that Tesla is really aiming to dominate in this new era. And I will note, just as a last point, it's an unproven space for Tesla. This is not, their typical wheelhouse. There are companies that have focused on humanoid robots for years, if not decades. There are companies that have focused on neural nets and artificial intelligence, just purely not for an not in an automotive capacity like Tesla. So they are taking this leap kind of into the unknown for what is otherwise an auto and tech company.
On Thursday night, the Tesla board approved a nearly $1 trillion pay package for Musk that locks him into running the company for the next decade, despite some investors showing wariness over his antics. Their hope is that it keeps him focused on the company. But it also comes with some lofty goals for him to hit.
So the goals for the pay package are: one, retain Elon Musk. The board, specifically the board chairman, has expressed that in order to stay or keep Musk excited, invigorated, focused on Tesla, this is the type of step that she believes is necessary. A $1 trillion pay package where you hand Musk a portion of the company, in this case, 1% of it every time it reaches an additional $500 billion in valuation. And so that's goal number one. Keep Elon Musk and keep him focused. Goal number two is to establish the future roadmap of the company, which gets at some of those bets that I mentioned before on robotics and artificial intelligence, and to basically give the company blessing to focus on those areas over the next decade. It basically like clears the slate, in terms of like, all right, are we going to have, crises every 2 years over succession or like, who's really in charge or whether Elon, takes a position in the government or starts focusing on his other AI startup, XAI, like it clears the company of that burden for 10 years. And lastly, it allows Tesla to branch out from its traditional automotive, again, low margin automotive space and tech realm that is largely focused on its cars um, into the tech ether, which is currently dominated by, OpenAI or, social media companies that are pursuing bets like these, like Meta, or the Googles and Microsofts of the world. It allows Tesla to basically broaden its horizons and say, like, no, like we deserve to be up there with what used to be the FANG companies.
When we come back, in order to succeed, Musk needs the government. So why can't he stop picking fights with them? If you've ever wondered how the digital world really connects behind the scenes, you're not alone. The new podcast, Interconnected, is a video and podcast series by Equinix that explores the hidden infrastructure behind our connected future, from data centers and cloud ecosystems to the platforms and people who use them. The hosts connect the dots between emerging tech, future innovations, and today's cultural and business applications. The third episode covers how the world's most essential industry, agriculture, is being transformed by digital infrastructure. What will it take to build systems that can sustainably feed the world's growing population? Food security goes beyond farmland and stronger crops. You'll hear about everything from edge computing in remote fields to AI systems that predict crop yields and reduce food waste. Discover the digital infrastructure powering today's biggest tech trends with Interconnected. Follow Interconnected on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Shape the future of enterprise AI with Agency, AGNTCY. The Internet of Agents is the collaboration layer that ensures AI agents can securely discover, connect, and work across any framework. With Agency, your organization gains open, standardized tools and seamless integration, including robust identity management to identify, authenticate, and interact across any platform. Join industry leaders like Cisco, Dell Technologies, Google Cloud, and more than 75 supporting companies to set the standard for secure, scalable AI infrastructure. Empower your company to deploy multi-agent systems with confidence. Is your enterprise ready for the future of agentic AI? Visit agency.org to explore use cases now. That's agnTcy.org.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
We've talked a little bit about Musk and his relationship with the government. How much does Elon and his businesses need the government in order to be successful?
Tesla's story of profitability derives in part from, this interplay of government and private enterprise. They relied, at least for a long time, on their ability to sell regulatory credits to other automakers that had failed to meet their own emissions targets. And oftentimes, if you looked at their balance sheet, their profitability, they eked out a profit, or their profitability was driven in large part by other automakers who said, okay, Tesla, you only sell electric cars. And so because you do that, we are going to take it on the chin. We are not meeting our emissions targets, but we'll buy some of your progress off of you. And lo and behold, Tesla makes a profit. From 2020 through, I want to say, like late last year, like as Tesla's telling this story of growth, unfettered profitability, becoming the world's most valuable automaker, Musk becoming the world's richest person, you see a lot of this, a lot of Tesla making a profit in large part due to those regulatory credits. So it is really hard to detach like the story of their success from the government programs that, and that's just one, but that in some ways have propped them up.
SpaceX, in particular, has received billions of dollars from the government, and NASA relies heavily on SpaceX's technical know how and equipment. You spoke with investors close to Musk. Have they expressed concern over his feuds with Trump officials who are in control of, massive amounts of funding for his companies?
The sense that I got, especially, when I was in touch with folks around the time of Musk's Doge work, the sense that I got was that and also Musk feud with the president. The sense that
Can't
I got
forget
was
that.
this was not, the bear to poke, especially at this point in the company's history, at this point in, Musk's empire's history, given the gargantuan bets they wanted to make and like the fact that he was relying on the government. So the Sean Duffy feud is just the latest example of poking the bear. At a time when it's unclear to people like who this serves, other than Musk feeling like he's winning some points on the internet. But on the other hand, it looks like Jared Isaacman has been renominated for NASA administrator, and that's Musk's guy. It's hard to argue that like on one hand, it's maybe not smart to refer to the transportation secretary and NASA interim NASA administrator by these names, but also like, does it happen? Does it happen without Musk's intervention in his characteristically Musk style?
When Musk was helping to propel Trump back into the presidency, many speculated about how beneficial this would be for Musk's businesses, particularly in terms of getting regulatory approval on some of his more ambitious bets. But since his work ended with Doge, the regulators in the Trump administration have not been giving him special treatment. We saw that play when recently NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, inquired about a driver assistance mode that Tesla rolled out recently, dubbed Mad Max mode. It allows the car to act more aggressively.
It does suggest that the regulators are maintaining their course when it comes to aggressively holding companies accountable that seemingly, flout norms in terms of what's expected, of automakers putting vehicles that are thousands of pounds hurtling down the highway 60 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, in terms of putting these things on the road. This is not retribution, but it is a continuation of a regulatory posture that we saw going back to the Biden administration or even the prior Trump administration or before that. Tesla was putting this new technology in the hands of drivers, and it fell on the regulators to decide like what is acceptable, what amount. Tesla will always, poke the bear here. Like this Mad Max mode, it has been documented to exceed the speed limit, for example. And the user can program their Tesla in Mad Max mode to exceed the speed limit. And it's already driving aggressively. And now it's going, let's say uh, 80 and a 65. It falls on the regulator to step in or decide to let a company walk all over you. And it seems like NHTSA has chosen to step in.
Based on everything we've been talking about, it feels like Musk really needs the regulators on his side, and yet he keeps attacking them publicly. We've seen this behavior from him before, but I just can't help but wonder why. What drives him to do this? Why is he picking fights with people that he essentially needs?
Seems like there's no 40 chess happening here, though.
Mm,
Like any argument that like, oh, this is actually a smart play because it'll achieve, this end, um, is actually like countered by the fact that even Tesla shareholders or even Musk fanboys are often begging him to stop, and this uh, was particularly prominent when Musk was feuding with Trump, because Musk had all these new fans in the MAGA sphere. He had all his existing fans in the Tesla sphere, and it risked sort of burning it all down. Um, for what payoff? Even Musk later acknowledges that in his own view, he might have taken it too far with a president who has, not shown a hesitance to like punish people who get on his bad side.
Fez, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Fez Siddiqui is a technology reporter for The Washington Post. He's also the author of the amazing Hubris Maximus, The Shattering of Elon Musk. All right, that is it for our show today. What Next TBD is produced by Evan Campbell and Patrick Fort. Paige Osborne is the senior supervising producer for What Next and What Next TBD. Mia Lobel is the executive producer at Slate. TBD is part of the larger What Next family. One more thing before we go. The What Next team has a question they're hoping that you can weigh in on. Now that this is officially the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, how has that got you rethinking your holiday travel plans? Or travel plans generally? Can you let them know? Weigh in by leaving a message on the What Next voicemail line, which is 646-582-0091. Again, that's 646-582-0091. We'll be back next week with more episodes. I'm Shayna Roth, filling in for Lizzie O'Leary. Thanks for listening.